Hi, everyone, and welcome. Today, I am joined by the beautiful, the one and only Leónia Nunes. I hope I'm saying right your last name. Leónia is a researcher, a scientist, and a forest guide, among others. But I will let you present yourself a bit more, Leónia. I'm again so happy to have you today with me in this conversation about the earth, the spiritual world, and about what you love.
Hi, Julia. It's a privilege and an honor to be here with you. We met this year and we felt connection since then. And I'm very happy to have this conversation with you and to explore other ways of, let's say, be together, share what we are doing, and inspire others and be inspired by each other.
Yes, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. So, Leonia, I want to start by asking you about your journey. I know you're born on an island. How has that inspired your love of nature, your love of forest? For me, you're an earth keeper. This is how I call people like you. And yeah, I want to know what inspired this journey for you when you were growing up on an island.
Well, yeah, I'm from Madeira Island, and Madeira has a particular forest called Laurisilva. It's a very special one. It's a forest composed by three species from Lauraceae family. They have this common characteristics of having evergreen leaves that remains on the trees all over the year. And typical from tropical forests. Even Madeira is not a tropical island. This forest exists in Europe before the last glaciation in the southern part.
Wow.
After that, it's only now restricted to only few places in on the planet. In particular, is located in Macaronesia region, which is why these islands are known as Fortunate Islands. Many archipelagos of Madeira, Azores, Canary Islands, and Cape Verde. So you can imagine that this forest had a big impact on me as a child, not only because of the walks that you can do nearby this forest and inside, but also because of the activities uh, organized by the school in these natural spaces that I had the opportunity to take part. And in addition to that, my father's love of plants also had a big impact on me. My father loves plants and built a beautiful garden at our house where he wrote my name, Leonia, in the grass with flowers.
Wow.
Yeah, and I always like biology and science in general. And also during my secondary school, I love a teacher who gave me practical biology lessons. And I think that all of this together inspire me greatly to study forestry engineer and later to further my studies and knowledge for a career in research. We know very little about these highly advanced and technological beings with strategies that transcend us.
Yes, for sure. I know so little. I realized I know so little when I started my herbalist school, and I still know so little, especially about forest and trees, because we study rather flowers or like smaller plants, let's say. And it was fascinating to hear from you and to know how much history you know around forestry. My fascination comes also from the fact that in Romania we have virgin forests still, not so many, but still it's something that exists. And I guess in Portugal as well. Yeah.
Yeah, most in this, not so much in the mainland, but in Madeira and fewer areas also in Azores, we have this natural forest, this Laurisilva forest, because in the mainland, we have the Fago silva forest, which is other type of forest, dominated by oaks and chestnuts, which is different. Yeah.
Sounds really interesting. What is your main focus right now? I know you travel a lot for your work, like you say, in mainland, but also in other islands, but in other countries as well. So what do you do? How do you cooperate with other countries on these studies?
Yeah, maybe I could start by sharing what I study as a PhD, because it's very interesting also this subject. I did in mixed forests, forests that are composed with different species. could be a mix of broadleafs or broadleafs and conifers, in order to better understand the ecological interactions between species, because we know so little. And we want to know, because we want to be more in close connection with these beings. So do they like to have a different species as a neighbor, or they prefer a sister? It's a complex and wonderful world. And from what has been studied, trees of different species have many ecological benefits and allow the increase of biodiversity and habitat for many living beings. So they are like a huge condominium that allow a lot of others to live in close proximity within, etc. And in this mixed forest, we understood so far two mechanisms that they establish. One is facilitation, that is, the presence of one species facilitate the development of other. For example, for sure that you know the leguminous species increase the amount of nitrogen in the soil, and this element becomes available to the other species. And the other is complementarity. So different species have different ecological niches, different root systems, and therefore they capture elements in the soil of different depth. So, or one species thrive in the sun, while another benefits from the shade provided by its neighbor. So this dynamics creates complementarity between the two species. So this is a very fascinating world that I enjoy a lot to study and to be in contact with, and to go to the forest and see how they are being together and so on. And in addition to this, in recent years, I have been involved in forest inventories, both in the context of trees in the forest or in urban context, because we also have parks and gardens and street trees in the cities. And since there is an increase in the population living in urban environment lately, and this will grow more people are moving to the cities to have better conditions. They think so. And yeah, and we know that trees play a crucial role in our well-being, right? And in our health. In addition to regulating a large set of phenomena in cities, for example, removing pollutants from the atmosphere or reducing the rainfall, runoff. So it has been very important to, let's say, study and present numbers and present facts. Our human mind sometimes needs facts.
Needs numbers, yeah.
Needs numbers. But it's very important to raise the awareness among the population of these benefits, so that trees in the cities are more accepted by the people who live in this environmental, because many times the people don't like the trees on the cities, but cities are playing a huge service for us, for our well-being, for our health, for our connections with ourselves and with nature. We are nature.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And my, let's say, the trips that I've been doing more and more lately, allow me to change experience and ideas with colleagues from other countries who are studying similar subjects, sharing the experience, see what they are doing in different contexts, presenting what we are doing here, and so on. So that's why of course, we can do it online, but it's very different when we go to a forest in another country. I had this experience this year. I went to Finland. It was not my first time, but my first time during the summer. And the soil on a Finland forest is incredibly soft. It's boreal forest, very different from what we have here. And it was an incredible experience. Of course, we can have a meeting online, but we cannot smell
Exactly.
and feel and have all our senses engaged with nature. It's incredible.
Yeah. I totally relate to what you're saying when you talk about the cities. I live in Bucharest, in Romania, and I see the same. I remember how the city was 20 years ago. There were a lot more trees. Now I walk in the streets and I see how people like to have everything like, with concrete, perfectly clean. But there are also regeneration projects across Europe. Are you part of some of them? Do you like give some advice to the city hall? It?
Yeah, that's why we are studying and deliver these numbers. We are, let's say, supporting different kinds of municipalities from the north to the south of Portugal, which is very interesting because they have different characteristics and different objectives. They start with one objective. In fact, what we are delivering at the end is more or less the same, but the initial point are very different from these different municipalities. Some of them want just to know what they have in terms of trees and species and biodiversity on their cities, and to know if they have some sanitary problems, some disease, some pests. Others want to have these numbers to raise the public awareness of the benefits of the trees on the cities. Excuse me. Others is because they heard that we are studying. Are you doing that? I also want that for my city. Others is to support some management strategies, policy. This is what we have been doing. And also last year, we coordinated in Portugal a tree tag campaign. There was an European tree tag campaign. It was coordinated by Netherlands, and we organized and implement here in Portugal. And we measured choose the three significant ones in cities, in all urban settles. We measure the trees, we estimate their benefits, and then we translate that in a, let's say, more comprehensive way so anyone on the cities can understand. Then we put on a tag and we put that on a tree, all on the same day across Europe.
Wow.
What's the difference? Cities, well, we put in 100 trees in Portugal and more or less more than 700 along Europe. So it was very interesting experience. Many news on social media. Many people get in touch with it. And after that, we've been contacted by schools because they want to do that in their backyards. So students can also be engaged with it. So we are going to schools, teaching them and sharing and conversation with students, go out to the backyards, measure the trees and so on. So it being a very interesting and I also think very powerful way to work with people, to look to a tree and say, wow, this tree near my house is giving me so much. And I'm not giving nothing. It's giving me so much. I'm benefiting a lot to have this tree here nearby me. Yeah. So it's been very good.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. Thank you for sharing that. And I wonder also because you mentioned about the benefits of trees. I know there is a close relationship also with water and the soil. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, of course, because when you only have concrete and you have rain, that water will not be retained on the soil. This is it is even more important in cities because in the forest you have structure, you have soil already. Yes, you have organic matter and you have the trees and the roots of the trees that support that soil and so on. So on. When you have rain, so that water will, part of that water, big amount of that water will go to the soil. But when you are in the city context, in these urban settles, they have a lot of concrete. This water, you will not have runoff, right? You will not avoid it. You cannot have a way to avoid it runoff. The way you have to avoid it runoff is with trees, and with even it's just a small part, a small square where the tree is installed. Even that is important. So part of the water will intercept and will go to the soil, and the soil, that tree will retain part of that water. So it's and avoid floods, that extreme events that happens many times and more lately. It's an incredible being. All nature are incredible, but I'm very fond of trees.
Thank you. The other thing I noticed in cities, and of course, we're not going to discuss only about the cities, but sometimes they plant throughout the whole city the same type of tree, the same species. What do you think about that?
Well, it's easier for them because they can go and buy the same. It's more easy. It's more easy to maintain. But of course, when you have different species, you have more biodiversity because you have more birds that will have food from different species, because otherwise you only have one kind of food and habitat for that specific kind of species. When you have diversity of species, you have diversity of birds, of insects, of butterflies, of bees, and so on, pollinators, and so on. And even for pests and disease will be easier when we have different kinds of species, because if one tree will be, let's say, will have a specific disease, if all of them are from the same species, all of them will be contaminated by that disease. Be a bigger problem for the municipality to deal with that when you have this. You could be, let's say, you can have part of the road with one tree, cannot be one different. You can, let's say, have some squares or quarters with the same species, and then you change and change. Yeah, you can have this
Mm-hmm.
that kind of structure. It's also nice and it's easier to maintain. Many part of the city with one species, well, is challenge if you have a disease of pistis, as I mentioned, but it's also a pity because many of
Yeah.
other species will not have habitat and food to survive on that set.
Yeah, what I understand from you, it's key. Diversity is always the key to a good life for everyone, I would say.
And even that what I explaining about the mixed forests, they different species have different ecological niches. So one likes more shadow, other thrives more with the sun. One have more deep root and can capture water deeper. The other it's more near the surface. So if you have these different types of species, also they will have a better use of the resources of that space.
Yeah, and what I get from you is also resilience in that way. Yeah. And it takes me to what we see now with all the summers that are so hot. We see more fires as well. And I'm no expert, of course, but at least what I know from the south of France, where I used to live, is that they have, like, I want to say, more or less monocultural forests. And this is why they are not so resilient to fire.
Yeah, this is also, we can talk about that in these different settles, in urban and in forest. In urban, we also measure temperature in the shadow of a tree and in the shadow of a building. It's not the same. Even our two shadows during the summer, the shadow of a tree have a much less temperature than the shadow of a building. The cooling effects of the trees are incredible. Even more if we play with a deciduous tree, where you can have shadow on the summer and you have no leaves in the winter, so the sun can penetrate and go to the ground. This is one part. The other part is on the forest, because in Portugal we also have huge problems with wildfires that many times became an extreme event,
Mhm.
because fire is a natural element of the Mediterranean areas. So it's normal to have fires on the summer. We have this Mediterranean climate, which is a summer that is dry and hot at the same time. So because of that, fire is a natural element. What could be the problem is when we have small fires or small wildfires, and then that became these extreme events. And of course, monoculture could be a problem. Even more when you have species that are very rich in volatile organic compounds. You know a lot of that because you work with
Yes.
essential oils. I know that. I've been very inspiring by your sharings and all your knowledge about that and your wisdom. And so when you have different species, one that are more rich in these components and the other are not so rich on that components, that could create some balance, or let's say could be easier to control the fire,
Mm.
or the fire not expand so much in a big velocity. Because here in Portugal we have other natural element that contribute for this extreme events, which is the wind.
The wind.
The wind that came from the Atlantic. Yeah, so let's say broadleaves like oaks don't have these terpenes, which is this,
Yes.
don't have these terpenes, and let's say the pines have this alpha pinene, beta pinene, or the eucalyptus that have eucalyptol. So these components are terpenes that are flammable. So
Yeah.
this could say you have a fire and this infuse more that event, contribute more for the explosion and for the combustion. It could be a problem. Apart from all the fuels that we have, very dry, so can be summer. This is a complex, this is a
Yeah.
very complex issue to deal with.
Yeah, and you see, the more we talk about it, the more we see how trees work with the elements, like you say, and how complex and useful they are for us. Of course, we know, I mean, I'm not gonna talk about the oxygen and all that because that's something basic that everyone knows. Is there anything else from your research that you would like to share right now?
Well, it's more or less what I already shared with you related with these mixed forests, with ecosystem services, which is been working a lot lately. And I'm feeling very inspired by that and feeling very grateful to share with that in close proximity with people and engage more people with these numbers, with the science, and also to get more in touch with nature, because my let's say main target, we can say it, I'm studying and showing numbers and so on, but at the end what I really want is people to be more in contact with themselves through nature and to look
Yes.
at nature, because when we are, let's say, more connected with nature, as we are nature, we are more prone to look at nature in a different way. And even to an ant.
Yes.
Yes, so we can look at them, but I think this is a very personal perspective. What I've been observing is this is not if you study biology or forestry or so on that give you this connection to nature. It's when you engage with nature with different ways. When we engage with the senses, when we engage with compassion, when we engage with significance, with beauty, when we engage with this kind of elements, then you look at nature in a different way, then you feel you are part of nature, and then you look to your own nature.
Yeah, so true. And like you said, you are doing that, well, on a more mind level, let's say with numbers. You are a teacher as well, and you mentioned that you work, that you're doing these, you prepare information for kids and for your students. But I know you do something else as well. You're a facilitator, and you have brought, if I'm not mistaken, Forest Mind to Portugal. Can you tell us a bit about that? How you help people connect with nature?
Yeah. Well, in fact, and this is sequence what we said before, we don't need science to show us the benefits of nature to ourselves, right?
Mm.
However, it has been scientifically proven that spending time in nature improves health, as we already mentioned. And Forest Mind, it's very interesting method. It's a Finnish well-being method that including various types of relaxation, mindfulness, and mind skills exercise that was designed to authorize and intensify the natural healing effects of nature. It was created in 2014 by Sirpa Arvonen. And when Sirpa created the method, she didn't not imagine that it would be used outside Finland. It was created there because you know that Finland have more or less 80% of the country covered by forests. So it's very easy to be in contact with forests there. We don't need to travel a lot.
Yeah.
And I came into contact with this method in 2023, so it's very recent. I was in a meeting of two European projects on urban forest in Brussels. I went to just for research purpose, and one of the practical activities in parks involved forest mine. It was guided by Katrina Kilpie. And I said, I want to go to this one. And I was completely on over by the methods and immediately wanted to bring the approach to Portugal. I'm a member of the Portuguese Society of Forest Science and also a researcher at the Center for Applied Ecology. And I talk with these organizations and talk what I experience and I want to bring to Portugal. I will bring it any case with them or without them. But as a member of this society, I talked with the board because I also member of the board, and I said, it's this is all over. We have reports from the FAO, from the United Nations, and so saying that nature, forests, trees are good and improves our health and well-being. So it's be very important to have and to give to the members of the society an opportunity to experience this, and also to say that the society deal and deliver different types of areas on forest science, even this one. So I involve these organizations to make it possible to provide training in Portugal. The first edition was organized in April 2024. At that time, I never imagined it would be so well received and expanded as it has done. So Forest Mine Portugal was born, where we organize nature activities and guide training courses. This summer, I also had the opportunity to go and to be in Finland for the forest mine instructor trainings. So it's other level that was given by Katrina Kilby, which is I'm very fond of. I'm learning a lot with her. She's wonderful woman. And I'm now preparing the Forest Mine Portugal web page. I have little time to dedicate to this, I may say, but it's a thing that I feel that it's important to be available for people. So it's in Portuguese, so it's more easy for many of the people that cannot read in other language to have knowledge, wisdom, and can, let's say, I think I look to the forest mind as like a service that I'm doing to the planet as a way to equilibrium what I receive, which is huge every day. Because I think it's good to take people more and more to the forest. No one needs other to go to the forest, right? But it's easier and you feel more, let's say, engaged with when you have someone that organize a walk on the forest. That's why I think the forest mine, it's could be a very, very important way to bring people more to their own nature.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I didn't know that we can bring it more or less anywhere. So for all the listeners, Forest Mind, search it on the internet. I'm sure you will find more details and you can bring it to your country. It's really amazing.
And it's also amazing it's amazing you can explore forest mine as much as you want. You could go, because forest mine is a way that a method that, let's say, could touch different things, the sensorial part, the engagement with the senses, more or less similar with forest bathing, also presence and reflections. Add these other two dimensions. So have this three dimensions. So, and you can go more deep or less as you want on your open calls or your other type of walks, but you also can explore it in different dynamics. You can add to your own method. You can work with the cooperation world, with team buildings and so on. That's why I think it's so versatile
Yes.
methods. Yes. You can go more deep or less, but you can apply to different publics, to different types of organizations. Very, very interesting methods.
And I think it completes really well other methods because I know there are other methods to connect to nature or to forest in general. So yeah, you're making a really good point that you can bring it to a whole new level, let's say, with Forest Mind. Very interesting. Thank you for that. Leonia, I know someone like you probably doesn't love like just one tree, one species or something like that, but is there one that you are, let's say, more fond of that is special to you for some reason?
Yeah, this is a very difficult question. More or less the question like, what are the music you love the most? Many. Yeah, I'm very fond of many of them, but cedars,
Cedar, yeah.
It's very special for me. Cedar are very special. Either Cedrus atlantica, or Cedrus deodara, or Cedrus libani. All of them I'm very fond of them. Cedar are very special tree for me.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. I mean, I love all plants, but I also have my
You can
my
share with us.
special. Yes, yeah. Achillea millefolium. So it's the I think it's called motherwort in English. I don't even know, to be honest. But yeah, it's the feminine flower, and then Onotera bienis. I don't know the name in English either. I'm gonna add it in the comments at the end. But yeah, yeah, there are some that bring a special message to my
Yeah,
heart.
yeah, it's interesting because you and me know more trees by scientific name than a common name, and it is more difficult to know the common name in English. But even, of course, my botanical mind like to go and give names to the trees. I tried when I'm by myself and I go to the forest, I try not to name them because this is the forest mind is all about that. Not go look to the nature as nature. Try not to name them. So when I'm by myself, I try to look to a tree as a being, not as this species, that species have this type of leaves, that type of flowers, this type of
Yeah,
mechanism. I try to, let's say, clean my mind with that and just look at being and say, good morning.
yeah.
How are
I
you?
love that. That's great. Thank you for that sharing. And tell me, Leonia, because the way we met, we didn't speak about it, but we met in a retreat with our common spiritual mentor. How do you mix the two, the spiritual heart, let's say, and the scientific mind?
More and more in a more easier way. More and more. Yeah. I see healing. I truly see healing as a way of being at peace with ourselves and with others. And I truly believe that this is the path to world peace. The spiritual path is for me, what I am seeing
Mm-hmm.
and I'm experiencing. It's the path from within of knowing ourselves as human beings and how we interact with nature and everything around us because we are nature. This is so simple. This is so, so simple. This is the way I'm seeing it. And for me, it has been a blessing to be able to work in nature and at the same time do inner work with my own nature because nature is teaching me a lot. And we can call it spiritual work, but I think it's the nature work. Yeah. And I have had the support, and I had the support of extraordinary people throughout these years. Begin with, I have had immense support from Manuel, my husband, in holding space for me in this path of inner work and truth. It's been a blessing, a true blessing to have him by my side. And also, I have been assisting my dear friend Teresa Gonçalves in the practice of family constellation, which is a method I consider fundamental to peace and love to systems,
Yeah.
any kind of systems, family systems, organization systems. So I truly, truly believe and like a lot this method. And of course, our dear master, Maya Amar, to whom I am deeply, deeply grateful. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to learn with him, with her, be guided by her and inspired by her. And the master retreat we did together this year, it was an incredibly beautiful moment of truth, my truth, and of healing and of transformation. And I'm so blessed to have that opportunity, and I'm so blessed to walk in this path close to nature and close to people that guided me in way back me to my heart, in a way back to my heart. And you is also part of that.
Thank you. I think
Thank you for that.
we are lights for each other. And I think we have heard this before, but everything that you said makes me think of, and I think you are a beautiful example of that. We have never left the garden. Actually, the garden, the paradise is here. It's here and now. And if we stop and, connect with the tree, or like we say, stop and smell the roses, we can come back to that inner nature and to the nature that is all around us and have more meaningful connection.
The drop.
Yeah.
The drop of the sacred perfume,
Mm,
to remind us, as you said, we never left, to remind us of what we are here for, and remind that our heart is always here for us. We always can be together with it all the time, being grateful for this experience, for this lifetime, all that surrounds us.
thank you so much. As we come close to the end of this conversation, is there anything you would like to share with us?
I'm very grateful for this invitation. I'm feeling honored that you invite me, that you trust me, that you think that I could have something to share with you and with your audience. I cannot wait to see what you can offer more for us.
Thank you, Leonia, and thank you for being such a beautiful example of living a soul-led life and having what I now like to call a coherent life. Thank you for showing me the light and the beautiful
Thanks to
example
you.
that you are.
Thanks to you, Yulia. Thank you so much. It was a privilege. I like it so much to have this conversation with you. It was a pleasure. Very grateful.
Very grateful as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.